The year is 123 AD. You are a legionary of the Legio II Diatrix. Your orders: report to your sentry in the early morning assembly. You grab your shield and helmet, but where's your sword? Swords were not worn while marching, only carried. And anyway, you wouldn't want to accidentally stab one of your fellow soldiers while jostling along the crowded road, would you? So you sling it onto your back along with your spear, your quiver of arrows, and your entrenching tool. Those unable to carry enough supplies with them from the previous camp were issued new packs. The forts along the route had stores of grain and fodder, too, since the logistical support of the Roman army was phenomenal. They knew better than to get too rowdy in a civilian settlement. If the night was too cold for a fire, the soldiers huddled together for warmth, sharing jokes and stories in the flickering lamplight of the centurions. By the evening, even the noise of the marching camp blended with the sounds of the local town. The legion might be on the move, but it was still very much a part of the world around it. There were usually 2 supply depots between each camp, one halfway between the 2 camps and the other at the last camp before the next town. So if a delay in the march caused the stores at the first depot to run low, the legion could always draw supplies from the second depot. Entrenching tools were carried by all legionaries regardless of their role. Water was taken on at every halt and drunk from leather or metal cups or dipped directly from the skin. After drinking, the cup or canteen was returned to the soldier's pack. After all, every soldier was first and foremost an infantryman. You fall into step behind your sentry as it joins the other 9 cohorts of your legion in forming a tight column 10 deep along the Via Appia, a major road that runs from central Rome to the southeast. The column is flanked by velites, light infantry whose job it is to screen the flank soldiers use the opportunity to attend to nature's calls. The baggage train makes good use of these halts, too, since the longer the camp stays in one place, the greater the chances of an attack. Once the column is reformed, the march continues until late afternoon, at which point the velites and cavalry detach from the column to search for a suitable site for the castra. And the front of the legion from surprise attack. Cavalry, meanwhile, protects the rear. Every man could fell trees and dig earth. The site was always prepared near water, ideally on defensible terrain with access to wood. The layout was always the same. A playing card-shaped perimeter was marked out, divided into 10 equal segments, each containing its own gate. 2 main gates, the east and west gates, were positioned opposite one another at the ends of the card, connected by 2 straight streets. These formed the axes around which the camp's daily life revolved. The Via Praetoria ran the length of the camp from east to west, and the Via Principalis ran the width from north to south. Connecting the 2 main streets were 9 additional streets, one for each cohort, running from the outer gates to the center of the camp. Tents were pitched along the streets with space left between them for headquarters and granaries. Within the north and south boundaries were the latrines. Behind the entire camp ran a deep ditch, or fossa, which was filled with the debris and clay from the rampart, or agger, that bordered the road. Finally, a wooden palisade, or vallum, was erected all around the camp. The double-strength first cohort leads the way. If attacked, it can either stand firm and form a shield wall or breach the enemy and disrupt their formation. Behind them, the baggage train, or karuki, begins to move. It consists of supply wagons carrying grain, equipment and loot, often pulled by teams of oxen. Keeping the baggage train on the move is the task of the mule drivers, the gregarii. They also help maintain order in the column and guide traffic through the marching camp, or castra. Every 5 miles or so, the column halts for 15 minutes to allow the soldiers to rest and the officers to check the ranks. Building a marching camp took just a few hours, thanks to the legionaries' entrenching tools. Once the fort was finished, foragers were sent into the local towns to purchase or requisition food and forage for horses and firewood for cooking. If the midday halt coincided with midday, the soldiers were given bread, grain porridge and dried meat. As night fell, the column reached its destination and the soldiers were free to explore the local town or taverns, though officers kept a close eye on their men to prevent drunkenness and rioting. The Roman army was a well-oiled machine. And now it's time to get up close and personal with the equipment and weapons they used. Join me as we explore the gear and tools of the ancient Roman legionary. Personal arms and armor. A legionary's personal equipment was fairly standardized, although there was plenty of room for personal touches. Every soldier carried a gladius hispaniensis, a short stabbing sword with a blade length of around 60 centimeters. It was worn on the right hip and was ideal for the close combat that characterized warfare in the ancient Mediterranean. The legionary would have also carried 1 or 2 pila, heavy javelins with a long iron shank. The pila was designed to bend on impact so that the enemy could not throw it back. They were useful for keeping the enemy at a distance or for throwing over the top of a wall. In addition, most legionaries wore a pugio, a dagger that was used for utility as well as a last resort for defense. Armor. On the torso, the legionary wore larica segmentata, or mail, consisting of articulated strips of iron that allowed for a full range of motion. This was often supplemented by a helmet, the galea, which had cheek guards and a neck guard. This provided protection from most blows, but still allowed the soldier to see clearly and breathe comfortably. Shields, scutum, were large rectangular shields that measured roughly 4 feet by 2 feet. They were curved to help deflect blows and could be joined together to form a protective tortoise formation called a testudo. The sarcina, or marching pack. To carry all this gear, the legionary used a marching pack called a sarcina. A furculum was a forked pole that was carried across the shoulders. And the pack was slung on it, along with the legionary's cloak, the sagum, which doubled as a blanket and shelter. On the march, a legionary's pack weighed around 33 pounds, but this did not include the weight of his shield, armor, or weapons. Inside the pack, he would have carried a variety of items, including a cooking pot, the mensa castrensis, and a mess tin for preparing simple stews, and a water skin, the utriculus, made of leather, for carrying water. Entrenching and engineering tools. A large part of a legionary's work was building and maintaining fortifications, as well as cutting down trees and digging trenches. To do this, they carried a number of tools, including a delabra, which was a combination pickaxe and adze used for digging ditches and cutting timber. Other tools included a shovel, the pala, and a pick, the malleus, which were used for finer earthworks and stockade preparation. In addition, a folding metal saw, the serva, was carried for cutting wood and making stakes. A hammer and nails were also part of a legionary's kit for constructing wooden fortifications and repairing gear. Specialized equipment. In addition to their standard gear, legionaries also carried specialized equipment for setting up camp. Each tent, or papilio, was large enough to house 8 men, a contubernium. Poles and ropes were carried in baggage wagons or by legionaries during lighter campaigns. For medical purposes, each sentry had 2 leather satchels containing bandages, scalpels, forceps and cauterizing salts for field surgery. Every unit, from the smallest sentry to the largest cohort, had a standard, the signum or vexillum, which was essential for unit cohesion and communication. The signum was a pole with metal discs attached to the end, while the vexillum was a cloth banner. Additional essentials. Legionaries carried a number of other small items, including a cooking fire kit, which might have been kept in a pouch or attached to the side of their pack. The kit contained a tinderbox with flint, steel and char cloth for starting fires to cook their meager meals of dried grain, farro, hard biscuits, cured meat and cheese. They also carried personal items such as writing tablets and a stylus, as well as small religious tokens such as a phallera or amulet. Finally, oil flask for maintaining their weapons and armor, as well as leather straps for repairing their shields. The gear and tools of a Roman legionary were essential for his survival and the success of his unit in battle and on campaign. From the standard equipment of the infantrymen to the specialized gear of officers and support troops, the Roman military machine was well equipped to handle any situation. Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. Until next time, remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. But if you had to march from here to there with a 33-pound backpack, you'd be wishing it would. Leave a comment if you think your arch nemesis should be forced to carry a 33-pound bag every day.